Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thanks for being here to today's webinar called Mastering the Client Lifecycle. As it says in that little subtext, it's maybe kind of an abstract idea, but there's some value in giving people a buttoned-up experience and really taking care of them at every step. And this is sort of tangential from actually the work you do as a coach. There's a subtle distinction that's going to kind of underpin our entire lesson today, and that is that you, as a coach, as a coaching service provider, have two ways in which to relate to the clients you work with. You can relate to them and be of service to them as a coachee, and that's probably what most of your training had to do with, how you be on the session, making space, evoking great questions, and letting your clients come to their great conclusions, and being that teacher, that guide, that Sherpa, that mentor, that whatever sort of modality and answer that you trained in. There's a lot to be said about being great at that, and most of your training probably had to do with that. But there's another dimension that is highly complementary. There's a little bit of overlap, but not much, and it's kind of a different set of skills, and that is being of service to your clients as they are your customer, customers of the coaching service that you provide. Now, this is obviously applicable if you have your own coaching practice and you actually bill your clients for the work you do with them. But even if you have a more, shall we say, captive audience of, say, maybe you're an internal coach and you work with employees of the company, or have an engagement where people aren't necessarily voting with their dollars more directly with you, but they're kind of in it for whatever reasons, they're your customer too. In that they have the ability to, say to their bosses or whoever lined up the engagement, wow, that was really great. Or, why did we do that? I can't wait for this program to be over. Let's not do this again next quarter. So no matter who you work with, there's two dynamics and distinctions or dimensions in which you can be of service to them and be great with them. Them as a coachee and them as a customer. Now, this may seem like an abstract distinction, but it's one that really matters. And if you'll allow me, I'm going to take a moment to just kind of get on my soapbox and read a little passage that really kind of puts this into perspective. It goes as follows. There's a life cycle to every client that you work with. Whether or not you have a clean and clear process to manage each step of that cycle makes the difference between giving your clients a haphazard experience versus one that is buttoned up, wherein they feel taken care of, valued, and acknowledged at every step. So, what is a clean and clear process for managing the client life cycle? If that mouthful of MBA sounding jargon makes your eyes want to glaze over, I don't blame you. Absent careful consideration, I'm pretty sure your average coach will view such a thing as a nice to have thing at best. But giving your clients a buttoned up experience in which they do feel taken care of, valued, and acknowledged is interesting to your average coach. And it is, perhaps most importantly, it is the lever by which you either win or lose repeat and referral business. So let's explore how you can do that, how you can be really good at managing the client lifecycle and relating to them as a customer, but also how you can do that without having to cordon off 5 hours a week of your calendar for extra admin. As is often the case in these lessons, I never want what I have to say to you to sort of be a roundabout, long-winded way of saying, well, just work harder and put in more hours. That's hardly useful action. We all know if we work harder, we'll do better. The real key here is how you can use what CoachAccountable has to offer to leverage that system and automate away a lot of this drudgery, and then still get those benefits of giving those clients that really buttoned up experience. So, like I said, this is a question worth asking to you. How do you manage clients from start to finish? And I'm not talking about how you act and what sort of body of distinctions you give and teach and guide them through during the coaching sessions. Is it a buttoned up process, or is it kind of haphazard? As we go through and distinguish the parts of it, I invite you guys to be listening for and looking for where do you fall on that spectrum between those two poles, and could you move a little more towards the buttoned up process to the delight of both you and your clients? So we got the client life cycle, and we got basically a line of progression from start to finish. And for this lesson, I'm defining the start point as when your client says, okay, I'm ready to work with you. Arguably, there's some pre-life cycle stuff, but that's more of like sales and onboarding, and that's not really what I'm talking about the life cycle of an actual established client. So we start with, I'm ready to work with you, and it ends with whenever they say, it's been fun so long, or whatever else sentiment of hopefully fond This client lifecycle has 3 parts to it: start, during, and finish. Now, so far, none of this is terribly clever. Of course, there's a start and a middle and an end of anything you do. But these 3 phases have kind of their own flavor when it comes to being really great at managing the client lifecycle. The theme of the start is one of setting the tone. This is where you can, again, have it be a jumble of haphazard this and that's, and it feels a little loose, and don't worry, it's going to be great when we get on the phone, but we got to manage these things. Or you demonstrate professionality. You look like it's really slick. You set the tone and the expectations that this is going to be really great. My coach is really good at this. I feel taken care of and handled. This is the stuff of, and here's the why in light blue, being a professional, really making that evident and getting them excited. Because getting them excited and having them perceive you as professional will, no matter what, impact the listening they give you in that first coaching call at all. So even if you say the exact same things on that first session, if they come in with an experience that you're just kind of making up and fudging versus an experience of being a professional who's got this a really tight process, it's going to change their listening, and ultimately being more professional will have them more receptive to what you have to teach. A part of getting them excited also is having them settled, having them comfortable, having them oriented, having them clear where this is going, that this does in fact match up and line up with and is consistent with what they came for in the first place. All of those sort of things of, again, really good customer care gets them in a place to really appreciate and be excited for, like, oh boy, I can't wait to work with my coach. This is a pro and this is going to be great. So that's the opportunity, and not even opportunity, I say that's the responsibility, the impetus you have in that first process. And if you've never thought of it that way, you might be neglecting it without even realizing, and therefore losing the benefits of having, coming in at the higher scale of how they perceive you. Our second phase is during, and I would say the main theme of during to manage them, again, as a coach who's dealing with a customer, not just like coaching them, is managing satisfaction. And this is different from having them get good results as a client with you in the actual coaching work you do. Managing satisfaction is the stuff of actually having some empathy and showing that you really care, showing that you're interested in, like, okay, results or not, wherever you are, how is this process for you? Is it working for you? Do you feel like you're taking care of and all that? Doing this, the why is it that shows that you care, and it demonstrates empathy and, again, a level of professionalism that will keep them engaged. And it also shows that you can course correct as needed. If you get a wind of that derailments are happening, because derailments will happen. It doesn't always go smoothly. You can kind of and then some course correction to say, like, okay, this isn't working. Maybe we mix it up and create something new, and be, again, responsive to what you need, what's going to work for you. You as coach demonstrating that ability and willingness, and sort of, the opposite of being tone deaf, but actually tuned in, gives you that opportunity to take good care of them. And then the final phase, finish, the theme for that would be wrapping up powerfully. Again, this is separate, and it's oddly so, from what their actual results in doing the coaching work with you is. If you wrap up powerfully, you're going to be leaving them acknowledged and satisfied. And you can have that be missing, and yet someone gets the result. I'll share a little story. I actually was in a fitness and weight loss program a year ago, and I put in my intake form, like, oh, I want to lose 15 pounds, I think is what I said. And in the program, there was a little auto drip emailer that sent out on like day 10 that from the founder of the company said, congratulations, well done, you did great, you nailed it, I'm so proud of you, and this is so great, and good for you. It was like 3 paragraphs of praise of, like, this is what it's like to meet your goal. And then 6 minutes later was auto email oops, sorry, I meant to send that to someone else. Hope to send that to you someday soon. And you can kind of see it was a little bit of smoke and mirrors of automation. It's okay, like the psychology of I get it, because I think he's doing the right thing, because it really is, let's make it really in present, like, oh wow, yeah, I want that. I want to win and succeed in this program. So I was in it for a number of months, 6, 7, 8, and I got down far beyond. I lost 30 pounds total. It was awesome. I'm in way better shape than I was a couple years ago, which is cool. There was nothing. There was none of that sort of acknowledgement and satisfaction from my coach or from the founder. That email that was accidentally sent, I never got it. And so I left the program thoroughly satisfied by it. I got great results, but a little bit womp womp in terms of the acknowledgement and the hey, and there's a sort of sense of like, well, just stick around forever. We don't ever want to say it was done. And it left not a bad taste, but it was a far cry from what it could have been, especially given the program was so good. That was not buttoned up at all. I didn't feel acknowledged or satisfied. And there's a little collateral damage from that. And it would have been so easy to do the very thing that they did quasi-fraudulently at the beginning. So wrapping up powerfully, again, can't be taken for granted. And it's different from just crushing it in the actual coaching. It's different from getting them to where they want it. Wrapping up powerfully is the stuff of actually taking time to celebrate that, and versus like saying, okay, congratulations, or hey, you want to keep going forever. It's an opportunity that you don't want to miss. So that's the client lifecycle with our 3 phases. And now what we're going to do is kind of look into what sort of actions you can take on each of these steps to really look like a buttoned up professional and get sort of these why in light blue outcomes behind doing them right. In these, we're going to have a little color convention. Things in green are things that CoachAccountable will do for you. And we'll see some yellow things in yellow that you kind of have to do yourself. But that's sort of and again, that interplay and dance of here's what you can automate and have it brew this like without, again, spending tons of your own time doing extra admin work. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the intake form. The intake form is your opportunity to really get someone on board about, well, what are you here for? What do you want to get? In the program I did that I was talking about, I loved the intake form. It was a Google Doc, which seemed a little amateur night, but there was kind of a cool sense of like, well, you know, what do you want? What would this mean to you? What's your goal? And just getting to like fill that out like, oh yeah, this is cool. It's like talking to the genie. What is your wish? You know, and putting that out there and putting it in existence. And that's a powerful thing to do. It's fun for the client, but it also gives you a really good window into staying present to, again, managing satisfaction later down the road. Now, everyone in their library, under the worksheet templates and sample worksheets that we preload with your thing, has 2 of these that are good sample ones. You can use them verbatim or use them as starting points. I love this creating that it matters. If you've never looked at it, give it a read, but it's all about, like, let's make sure that the work you do that I, as coach, will guide you to do, that you're clear that it matters and we're on the same page that this is worth doing. Let them weigh in on that, but also let them weigh in on what's at stake. You know, there's a couple of good questions where the why is something to be addressed. So that's, I think it's in here, but it's definitely in the why coaching. You know, what are you working on that you really benefit? And so on. Capturing that why is the key, one of the key things that you want to do in an intake form. You probably from your training or your program already have a sense of the certain data, information, whatever that you need to capture in your standard intake form. But if it's not there already, make sure you're capturing the why. Make sure you're actually getting documentation from them in their own words. What are you doing here? What's at stake for you? Why is this important? And what's magical about this is at the beginning of the program, you're getting it when they're the most fresh after having made that decision, yes, I want into this program. You're kind of, you know, freezing in amber this sentiment that is at that ripest state called, yes, I'm in, I'm committed, I want this, let's go. Because when the going gets tough later on in the during, when you have this opportunity to manage satisfaction, that might wane. They might not be quite as present, like, oh, what was I thinking as to why I signed up for this? So being able to presence that, being able to have it captured then is therefore very critical. Worksheet templates are a cinch to assign to your people with no extra work on your part. There's sort of 2 pathways by which people can come into your programs. One, it can be via an offering, meaning they signed up for the offering or for your coaching services from your own website, and you can include a worksheet in your offering itself. Right here. So let's see, there's an example of one. It's a great one. What if you have a 6-month coaching experience? You would have a worksheet where, again, they're invited in the process of signing up to fill this out right then and there. So the act of them signing up has them assigned, be assigned the worksheet and fill it in and submit it right to you, and you're done. No extra work, but a well-crafted pre-worksheet, onboarding intake worksheet means you're capturing those sentiments of why, what's at stake for you. And that's going to be powerful later on, as well as give them the experience like, ooh, I get to talk to the genie. I'm stoked to work with my coach because these are the things that I might be able to get. The other path, of course, to people entering your program is if you add them the old-fashioned way. And if you add them the old-fashioned way, then again, with just a few clicks, let's see, I just got a new client here. I'll just, again, go here. And when I'm setting someone up, just add it. And let's see here. So many worksheets, goodness. There we go. And we're done. So that's our first thing about intake form. Any questions about that? Moving on, client agreements. So the next sort of part of your process is, well, you probably have, no, I shouldn't say probably. I think about in the CoachAccountable user base, it's about 50-50. If you have any sort of legalese, any sort of terms or agreements that you want your clients to agree to sort of make it all official, either for legal reasons or motivational reasons, again, like, commitments to the program, things that you're expected to do. Our all new client agreement system allows you to make form-based worksheets that allow you to collect signatures or even have them, check boxes like I agree to X, Y, and Z, and make it a nice little interactive thing. As you know, your accounts come preloaded with a bunch of standard agreements that we have. These are right for catering to your own purposes. And feel free to make them your own. But also, again, this can be a nice way to, again, capture a little more of that why. Program agreements can be less of like, what are your desires, like the intake form would be, but more of the, here's what I expect of you, here's what you can count on from me. It lays down and, again, sets the tone of professionality. This is how it's going to go. So having a sample agreement, again, is a matter of setting that up with, when you create a client, you can pick which coaching terms are going to apply. You can have multiple, but if there's only one, just pick that one. And similarly, if people come in by way of offering, you can choose that there's an agreement that applies when someone signs up and they need to agree to one of these. When they sign up with an offering and fill out their intake form and pay, if that's part of the process, and put in their basic information, whenever they get into the system, either right away if you let them, or maybe later if you invite them later, it's up to you. They'll be presented with that agreement to, again, fill out, sign, check the box I agree to. And again, it goes on file, no extra work for you, gives them an experience like, oh, cool, this is nice and tidy. Having it in CoachAccountable is a little smoother because it's not like you're guiding them to a Google Doc or click here and download this and type in your name there and save it and mail it back to me. Or even a HelloSign and DocuSign, which means you'd have to use a third-party service and it's not all there in their file. It's all right here. So that's your client agreements. Another bit of button-up professionality. Again, maybe you need it because of legality reasons, but maybe you don't need it, but it would be actually kind of cool and powerful to make a sort of agreement that sets the tone and more of that professionality. Here's what I'm counting on you for this to work. Here's what you can count on me for this to work. So that's client agreements. It's also in green. CoachAccountable will do it for you. Again, you set these things in motion and then you're done. Third part is first impressions. When someone is sort of going to start working with you, again, if you're of if you've got that sense of confidence, they're like, yes, I'm going to knock it out of the park when we get on the phone, when we have our session. The coaching stuff you might have on lockdown, but what's their experience beforehand? Is it buttoned up and professional? Does it get them excited? Does it get them oriented to, here's what we're going to do, here's how it's going to work? You can set some great first impressions, and one of the big lessons that we have on this, oh, Deborah, you raised your hand. What's up?
Can you hear me?
I can. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. I'm sorry, I missed where you brought in the agreements. Where are those at? I have a file that I normally provide, but I like the idea of actually having something that's in as a form accessible via the portal the way you had it there, but I didn't see where you access those.
Oh, right on. Yeah, this is a fairly new feature. We released it about 2 weeks ago. Gave you a little sneak preview on last month's webinar. But yeah, it's right under here, settings and agreements, and then you can, again, create those templates. You've been around a while, so this is for new clients that they're preloaded. There is a link by which you can install them all. Morgan, is that on the webinar?
I just put the blog post in.
Ah, right on, perfect. So yeah, the blog post, if you follow that, there's a link to install all these agreements into your system. And then again, tailor them, certainly get rid of this red preamble. That's not part of the agreement, but that's a way of knowing.
Okay, I did see that email, but I hadn't had a chance to look at it, so my bad. Thank you.
Oh, good. Yeah, yeah. I had a half a mind to like make part of this webinar's program. Let's talk about the new agreements feature, but man, we got a blog post on it, and we got plenty of other good stuff to cover. So
All right, thank you.
thanks for chiming in.
Uh-huh.
All right, so first impressions. There's a thing that we recommend when you add your first client. The system will say, "Hey, yeah, I just noticed you've added your first client. We recommend that you set the stage." And setting the stage is our way of saying, don't let them log in when there's nothing doing there already. They'll be like, cool, we're using this system. Why do I have to, what are we doing here? I'll go over here to this tab where, again, we've got Kira client. She's brand new, and she's logged in. And like, hey, what's next? This is lame, log out. It's not a great first impression, but it could be. The lesson, and Morgan, can you bring up the blog post link for setting the stage? The lesson for setting the stage is invite your clients to your system by all means, because this really shows a structure of like, here's how it's going to go. Here are the ways we're going to work together. Here's how we're going to track it. And it's not just going to be a bunch of conversations, but an actual game plan and a growing record of accomplishment as we go. So setting the stage means take some time and actually fill up some things that are going to be relative and pertinent to them when they first get in, so that they see it and it immediately makes sense. One of the things that there's a couple things that I say, you might want to, let's go back to the coach side of the house. For your client, if you've talked to them before, you can maybe type up some of their session notes from the first time. So let me just real quick, I'm just going to borrow from Doc Melting, the demo client. And whatever impressions are like, hey, we just talked and I just want you to know here's all the stuff that I'd like you to bear in mind. So they can see, oh, cool, I see where I could see my session notes. So again, if we go here, on Kira's side, there's a little more interesting. And maybe in your first conversation with someone, you know that there's a couple of action items that they'd like to work on. To again, set in motion, like, hey, we're gonna be doing real stuff. It's not just conversations, it's actual accountability and action and forward progress that everyone can see is happening. So, what are some good actions? Anyone from the audience?
I usually have them go in and set some sort of metric for themselves.
That's a great one. Yeah, I mean, whether you might have talked to them about it, Deborah, or maybe you just say like, hey, we're going to get real with actual results-based tracking. What's something that's important to you? And maybe they say, hey, that's a good idea, Deborah. When I get in here, I'd like to actually track my sleep because I'd rather get good at it and make sure I get a solid 8 more often.
Right.
Maybe we have a target of like 7's okay, and above that is good.
Setting up meditation space.
Oh, that's a good one. Setting up meditation space. Let's do that. Of course, we more mindfully set due dates that are realistic and sort of in line with the cadence of what we want them to experience. There's a mindfulness to that, of course, because you don't want them overwhelmed, but also you want to keep them a nice clip of actual accomplishment. But again, this is our first impression. So yeah, just a few things here. We got a metric, we got an action, we got a session notes. By filling it up myself, by setting these things in place for them before they even get here, I'm demonstrating, again, being in tune to what they said they wanted, what they put in their worksheet intake form that they wanted, demonstrating like, yes, there's an actual process and system. So maybe I have a program that's not even predicated upon what they said. We always tracks the quality for the next 6 weeks. I just have these things set in motion. And you saw me take about 3 or 4 minutes to do all this, but with a starter kit course, you can sort of set up your standard tried and true bits that are always to be dispatched everywhere. And then it's 1 or 2 clicks to actually put those things in place for people. Starter kit course is another topic into itself. Morgan, if you want to put the link in for that. That's the gist of setting the stage, because now what we've got for first impressions, we just kind of log in. Imagine I'm Kira for the first time logging in. Oh, cool. So yeah, we're going to track sleep. Oh, there's a worksheet. Maybe I'll get on this. Da, da, da. And if she hasn't already filled this out as part of the offering, this could be something that's, again, preloaded for her when she gets in. And it demonstrates, hey, you, I'm listening. Please take a little bit of time to tell me what you want so that I'm clear and I can be of service to you in that capacity. Action items are here. She goes, oh yeah, okay, good job. Oh right, I already have a meditation space. Hey, cool, that's how that works. There's a certain interactivity that they can sort of experience right from the get-go that is possible when you set the stage, but not so much when it's just a bunch of blank slates. And that creates an impression. That creates, again, that working with you will not just be a bunch of conversations, which can, of course, be powerful, but having that sort of backed up with and propped up with, there's a real game plan, and we want to get these things done so that you actually get what you came for, not just good ideas from conversations, but real results. Sets the tone. Any questions about first impressions? About done with phase one. All right, moving on. Next up is what I call the satisfaction check-in. There's a really nice way to, again, show that you care. But if you ask someone point blank during your sessions, so how's this going for you? Are you loving it? There's a bias towards politeness and non-confrontation that might have their reactions on the fly be not quite as useful in terms of you getting the kind of feedback that you crave in order to do better by them. So it's a really nice thing. Again, here's another thing that's in green, because CoachAccountable will do it for you. You can design a course that will, at some sort of regular routine cadence, allow them to weigh in. Hey, just want you to take a moment and let me know how you're doing. It's not face-to-face, so it allows someone to have a little more distance and separation and muster a certain candor just in case some course correction is in order. We've designed a course here in this account that I'll show you is sort of a demonstration or a sample of how you can do this. We made a worksheet called the Coaching Satisfaction Check-In. And just, again, a little preamble called like, hey, let us know how it's going. Your candor is key. Let them weigh in. Maybe they can put their stuff. Maybe they can, here I've got a sense of like, hey, do you feel like you're showing up? Are you fully participating? That could be a good, powerful thing to weigh in on it too. Ask a few questions. Again, there's nothing, or like official about this. You can design your own, and we'll make this worksheet template something that you can install and then tailor, make it your own language and style. But asking them this and letting them fill it out, and again, we're being respectful of the time and saying, hey, it's just going to take a few minutes, and it's giving them an opportunity to weigh in. It shows a certain care about their experience and overall satisfaction. Now, having this as a worksheet template is great, but we can do one better of automation by making a course that automatically ships this out. Say you have a 120-day program, you work with people by quarters. We've created one of these to go out on a regular cadence of every 30 days. You can see here, there's a nice check-in, another check-in, another check-in. And on day one, we've created a metric that's going to basically give us a chart. What's their satisfaction level on a 10-point scale? It probably should be a 4-point scale because we have a 4-point thing, but close enough. You get the idea. I'll just do a little quick thing here. Just make it what's appropriate. All right, we didn't even set this. Great, 0 to 4. And then there's something fun here too that's a new feature that we added just for this, visibility. You can now set metrics to be, maybe it's not, you want this for your own internal use, this little tracking. They'll do the tracking by virtue of filling out that check-in on a regular basis. But we can say like, okay, maybe only our team coaches want to be able to see this. We don't want to plaster fund center because we want their actual KPIs that they care about. This is more for our in-house internal administrative client satisfaction management. So we can set visibility of a metric to just be just for coaches or maybe just for the issuing coach. And now what we have in this course is a coaching satisfaction thing. We probably don't want to ask them on day one. We'll just delete that one. But it's really nice to, again, whoops, no, we don't want to delete the others, just this one. Have that check-in come on a regular cadence. We're also doing some kind of cool things with other ways by which the system can kind of automatically manage that, that check-in, that regular cadence. For fun, we made a worksheet on, just a little after one of these, an email message that goes out to the coach saying, hey, take a moment to check in on so-and-so. And you can see they've got a couple of coach satisfaction metric because they've been doing their regular worksheet. Take a minute to see how they're doing, and then do what you got to do. One of the next sort of frame here is handling derailments. Sometimes you're going to get from this Canderous structure an idea that you might not have known. Maybe you feel like the coaching calls are going great and they seem like upbeat and like, yeah, okay, cool, let's do this. But the opportunity for them to weigh in and be like, hey, I'm not really terribly satisfied. That's a wonderful chance for you to sort of drop in, show that you care, and do some course correction if needed. Hey, cool, what's not working for you? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Is there something in my style that didn't work? Is there something that I said 2 months ago that is still in the back of your head that didn't work for you that I need to apologize for? These sorts of course corrections are made possible when you've got a little bit of visibility into that and a window into like, hey, maybe I'm not quite crushing, nailing it with this person as I thought. Maybe there's something I could be responsible for to have them really happy and satisfied with this program. Any questions about handling derailments in the satisfaction check-in? We got a few more structures on this thing again. We'll make this course downloadable. Yeah, there's a nice little, again, if you've got a 120-day thing, you could send another message to the coach. Let them know, hey, program's almost over. What do you want to do? It gives the coach a little hot trigger to think through like, oh, let me go pop into their file and prepare for our conversation. We'll get to that one next. All right, so next thing up in our slides is the almost done trigger. So this may or may not be your thing. Maybe you've got a style of perpetuity coaching, but maybe you offer programs where it's like an engagement that's 6 months or 3 months long, and those end. So what happens when you're there? Is it like, hey, cool, that's been fun, see you later? Or might it be nice to have a little, hey, they're almost done. You might want to have a conversation to see if they want to tee up to re-engage for another section. Teeing up continued engagement, that's your opportunity. If you have that sort of awareness, and again, a little hot trigger, just to like know, hey, they're through 10 out of 12 of their sessions. Bring that up in the conversation. It gives you the opportunity to say, hey, just want to take stock. Look, here's all the things you've accomplished so far. We're almost done. Would you like to work further if that's appropriate? And it gets you that opportunity. It's sort of a little bit of sales, and this part's in yellow because that's up to you. But CoachAccountable will tell you that's a part of engagements. When you create engagements, which is all about the allocation of appointments and then notifications relative to those appointments, as well as invoicing on regular intervals. It's kind of a whole package. The almost done trigger is a notification that you can set for yourself. Let's look at what that looks like real quick. So we've got engagements and say again, like a 6-month coaching package. We've got certain rules about what kind of, this is all about giving people an allocation and their appointment schedule with you, count towards that allocation, and then a progress meter of how many appointments have been used fills up. And then the notifications allow you to say like, hey, notify me as coach when all the appointments get to within maybe 2 hours of the allocation. Send me a quick email. And that'll let me know, hey, so-and-so now only has 2 hours left in their allocation for this engagement. Just saying. That's what CoachAccountable will do. And that, again, gives you the opportunity to sort of tee up that conversation about, hey, here's how far we've come. Here's what's left. Would you like to continue working? And that's our section on managing satisfaction. Let's move on to section 3, wrapping up powerfully. And here's what was so thoroughly missing from my program, the reviewing accomplishments. And this is in orange because there's a human touch of like really looking over and presencing it in maybe your last or second to last coaching call or session. Here's how far you've come, being able to look back on their records. Say if I was working with Doc Milty, our demo client, I might make sure to take a moment to review the past and see all these things that were meaningful, that got done, see the progress on various metrics and what numbers and how key performance indicators have changed over time, what sort of things have gone. Maybe I'll review the journal or review the session notes, the key takeaways and things that they got. It gives me a place to stand from, this record, this total visibility into the last 3, 6, 12 months we've been working with. far beyond what I could possibly muster with a couple of hand-scribbled notes or just the recent recollection of working with them. Get present to all that they accomplished, and then do them the service, do them the favor of getting them present to all that they accomplished. Having this record makes that sort of review of accomplishments a lot more possible and a lot more detailed and comprehensive. It's easy for, even great victories in the memory and good feelings of those to fade with time, because that's just how the human brain works. So getting that opportunity to bring it all front and center, and that really puts into context, here's what it was like working with me. Again, it's that buttoned up professionalism that has them feel acknowledged, celebrated, and taken care of. The next piece is give them a valuable souvenir. That whole record where, again, you can have that be part of the real substance of one of your last calls. You can do that as a download that you can give to them. So if you click here, this is generating a client export file. If we leave it blank, we'll do everything. Let's just do it all. Download this HTML file and email it to them. This record is a really nice souvenir that, again, gives them a nice takeaway that's so much more tangible than just the memory of all those good sessions plus whatever results they got. That's not diminishing those results, but a nice little record like, oh, wow, I worked with my coach, and these are all the things that I accomplished. These are all the things that I did. It gives them a sort of value add that leaves them with something tangible by which to remember you, and can be a fine anchor for whatever's next for them. And the last one, testimonial ask. I don't know about you guys, but we here at CoachAccountable, we're super shy about asking for reviews, for testimonials and all that. We have a listing at Capterra. They're very positive, but we don't really, I don't know, it feels kind of, I don't know, we're shy to a fault when it comes to that. But you don't have to be. We probably shouldn't have to be. We'll probably eventually, have an auto emailer that goes out on month 7. Hey, you've been around a while. If you'd like to share your thoughts with the world, by all means, you can do the same thing, and you can make it very easy for clients to have that empowered sense of, they can share their feedback as well as, give you permission to use it as a testimonial or not. And again, much like the satisfaction weigh-in, doing it in an offline way prevents that sort of that heat of like, oh, on the fly, not sure. You kind of can be confronting. You want to give them the space to sort of weigh it and make that opportunity. Here in the library, we've got another worksheet that we created. The program completion survey is what we call it. Again, this is something that we'll make available for you guys to install. Use it as is or tailor it to your own. But what we ask is just a few simple things of like, hey, let's wrap up. I'm committed to being the best that I can be, so I really value your feedback. What results did you get? How did you rate the overall performance? Say more about that. What can I improve? And then there's a certain masterstroke of, I think, tact and diplomacy. Like, hey, is it okay if we share this with others? And it's okay if not. Gives them the opportunity. Yes, no, yes, but anonymously. This is our formation of how to do a testimonial ask in a way that's non-confrontational, but also allows people who are really excited to say yes without it being a big ask on your part. And CoachAccountable will do that for you. That's why we have over in this, at the end of this program, the coaching satisfaction course that, again, spans the life of a typical engagement. It can automatically send out at the end a program completion survey. And of course, you can always send these out manually as you go. But that kind of worksheet is a really elegant way to do a testimonial ask, and allows you to sort of collect not only testimonials that you can put on your website and say, hey, look at how great a coach I am. But it's truly sincere when it says, hey, this is a great opportunity for me to get better. It shows that you care, that you're humble enough as a coach to want input, that you could probably get better, and there are some things that you're not doing as well as you could if only you knew. That's testimonial asked. And these are all the things that you can do on the client lifecycle. And if you do it really right, there's a reason, again, I'll represent that thing that I said. This is your way to get repeat and referral business. If this ends powerfully and they say it has been fun, what happens then if they have the experience of being professional? They know you care. They leave acknowledged and satisfied. That can come to like, hey, I've enjoyed working with you. I'd like to work with you again. Or hey, I told everyone about this great program. It was awesome. Kind of like I just told everyone on this line the program I went. It was called My Body Tutor, by the way. Fantastic program. Not so good on the client lifecycle, but still overall good. This is a way of, again, handling the the customer side of how you be great with your clients. That's, again, sort of overlaps, but largely independent from the coachee side of how you interact with the people. Any questions about all that? That's just before we go into review. Yeah, Laura.
Hey, John, I have a question. I gasped out loud when I saw that download. I didn't realize it was in that HTML format. Is it available to them after, let's say they've wrapped up and we deactivate their account within CoachAccountable?
Let's see. So they, of course, can't get it themselves, either whether they were active or not. But if we go to clients, inactive, yeah, you can at any time click download it, email it off to them.
Okay.
Sweet. I love gasp-worthy revelations of CoachAccountable.
Yeah, that was great.
Okay, back to my slides. All right. So we saw what that looks like. We've got a lot of things. Let's quick review all the 3 parts and how to use CoachAccountable to ace each. To start, it's all about setting the tone professionally. You've got an intake form that allows them to sort of weigh in on what they care about and feel like they're being listened to and capture that why. You've got first impressions. You can make the system look super slick and they get it from the get-go, like, oh, this is how this is going to work. And oh, I already see the nuggets of wisdom from my first session are already here. I see how this is going to be a growing record. And oh, I see these action items that I'm here to do. Great. If you're doing it really right, people say, hey, coach, do you mind if I make a few of my own action items? There's some things I want to do, and it's kind of fun to track here. And other things like that, metrics, worksheet assignments. Let them know that this is a really tight experience that they can expect it's going to be more than just conversations. And then any formal agreements you need to do, the system will deliver those and capture them and keep them on file and keep a record of when they agreed to them and the signature and the IP address that they did, just in case anyone runs afoul for legal reasons, or it's a nice thing to presence in case expectations aren't being met in terms of showing up for the program. So it's all kind of managed for you that way. On the during phase, we've got managing satisfaction, and that's, even checking in. Again, you can do this on your calls, but that's a little on the nose for a lot of people, and you can't rely on as much candor as if you were, let them answer on their own time when you're not right there smiling at them. Handling any derailments, that visibility into their overall satisfaction, coupled with that, state of the system. Hey, are things undone, or are they getting done, and is there something in terms of their participation that's lacking? This gives you that window into handling that elegantly on your next call, or maybe a quick email, a little bit of love and encouragement. And then the engagement progress. Like I said, with engagements, if the system will tell you if you set such notifications up, hey, they're almost done with their engagement, do it with what you will. That gives you that opportunity to tee up a conversation to continue on, if appropriate. And then finally, finishing, which is all about wrapping up powerfully. Review and acknowledgement. The growing record of everything that they did allows you to do so much of that at a level of detail that is otherwise impossible. Give them a valuable takeaway, that client export file that is that one beautiful souvenir that allows them to sort of remember all the things that they got. And a tasteful testimonial ask, which gives them a sort of low pressure prompt to both give you good feedback that can help you be better, and if they're into it, opt right into, sure, you can put that on your website and be able to tout to the world that, yes, here's another person you did great work with. And then finally, the so long for now, and that's the whole thing of deactivating someone. I say for now because, as you know, you can deactivate clients, and they're there, their record's there, just like I showed with Laura, about how you can go grab them and download them and do whatever you want. And it's for now because you can reactivate them at any time. And that's a really nice way to sort of leave the door open for further work, because you can pick up from where you left off with all those records still intact. So, in summary, set the tone by starting like a pro. Serve them as a customer and a coachee. So easy to just focus on the coachee, but forget that relating to them as a customer is also a way to really serve and honor them for their time and investment with you. And then wrap up powerfully and memorably so that they leave not only with those great results, but a feeling of being really well taken care of and acknowledged for doing in the process. Thank you all for being here and for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope that gives you a lot of great insights on how to do even better work as a coach and serve your people fabulously.